Hey everyone, and welcome back. You know how some tech just seems like magic? Well, this time, we're going to be taking a deep dive into the magic of data management.
It's funny you should say magic.
Is it really?
It is. We're actually looking at a paper with that exact word in the title, The Magic of Data Management.
Oh, wow, that's a good one. So, to the listener who sent this in, you're getting ready for a tech meeting and want to really understand data management, and we are right there with you.
Yeah, and the paper starts with this really cool analogy that any sufficiently advanced technology, it's basically magic to most of us,
Yeah.
right? But there's always a system behind it,
Oh,
a method to the magic, and that's data management in a nutshell.
okay, that makes sense. But I feel like we've all had experiences where technology, doesn't feel magical at all.
Right.
It's glitching or something.
Yeah, exactly. And a lot of times that's data management gone wrong. Think back to that Equifax data breach a few years ago.
Oh, yeah, who could forget that?
Huge data management failure, cost them millions of dollars, not to mention their reputation.
For sure.
But here's the thing. Even the giants mess this up.
Really?
Oh, yeah. The paper talks about IBM,
Okay.
the IBM, working with MD Anderson Cancer Center on their Watson project.
Oh, right. That's the one where they were using AI to try and cure cancer, right?
Exactly. And they hit these huge roadblocks.
Really?
Because of data management issues.
Wow.
So if IBM can stumble, it shows how crucial this stuff is.
Yeah, that's a good reality check.
Okay.
Okay, so let's get into this magic framework, I guess, that they propose. So it's supposed to make data management less of a black box.
That's the idea.
Okay.
So MAGIC stands for modeling, acquisition, governance, infrastructuring, and consumption support.
Okay.
And these 5 activities cover the entire life cycle of data from start to finish.
Okay, break it down. What does each of those words actually mean?
Let's start with modeling. Think of it like creating blueprints,
Okay.
but for your data.
Oh,
Before you build a house, you got to have a plan, right?
Yeah, I definitely don't want to just wing it on that one.
Yeah. Same with data. Data models provide that structure, so you can actually understand the information, how it's connected, and how you're going to use it.
Okay, so modeling is all about planning and organizing before you even start collecting data.
Exactly.
Okay, so then what about acquisition? I mean, it sounds pretty straightforward. You're acquiring, you're getting the data itself.
True, but there's more to it than you might think. Sometimes the best way to acquire data isn't to collect it from scratch.
Okay.
It's to tap into existing sources.
Oh.
Think about travel websites like Expedia or Kayak or any of them.
Right.
They show you flight and hotel options from tons of different places.
Oh, yeah. They're pulling from all the airlines and hotels.
Exactly.
That's a great example.
It's about working smarter, not harder.
Okay.
And the paper brought up something interesting about acquisition.
Yeah.
The user interface design actually plays a huge role.
Really. The user interface, like how websites and apps are laid out,
Yeah, exactly.
what does that have to do with data?
Think about every time you're online, you're filling out forms, right?
Right.
So if the design is confusing, the questions are unclear, people are going to input bad data.
Oh, that's a good point.
And that snowballs into bigger problems down the line.
Wow.
Hmm.
I never thought about it that way, but that makes total sense.
Yeah, so even those little design choices have a ripple effect.
Yeah.
Now, moving on to governance, this one's all about protection.
Protection. Okay, tell me more.
We live in a world where data breaches are constant, right?
Yeah, for sure.
So governance is all about safeguarding data, making sure it's being used ethically and responsibly, and ensuring privacy.
So are we talking rules and regulations around data?
Exactly. Think about GDPR, CCPA.
right.
Those are regulations that fall under that governance umbrella.
So it's like someone watching over all this data to make sure it's not being misused.
Exactly. Now, moving on to infrastructuring, this one can be a bit of a mouthful.
Yeah, it does sound pretty technical.
It's the whole ecosystem that supports data.
Hmm.
We're talking hardware, databases, networks, even the physical location of those data centers.
Right, because those servers, they have to live somewhere. Yeah.
Exactly, and they use a ton of energy,
That's true. I didn't really think about that.
which the paper actually mentions. Green data storage is becoming more and more important. As our reliance on data grows, so does the environmental impact.
That's a really good point. I never really thought about that, but it makes sense. Wow. Yeah, that's fascinating. Never really thought about the environmental impact of all the data we use, but it makes total sense. Okay, so we've got modeling, acquisition, governance, infrastructuring. Last piece of the magic puzzle here, consumption support. What is that?
So this is where it all comes together. Data is only useful if we can actually use it, right?
Right.
Consumption support makes sure that data is easy to access, analyze, understand, so we can make decisions from it.
So it's like you've got this huge library of information.
Yeah.
How do you actually find the book you need and make sense of it?
Yeah, that's a great analogy.
Thanks.
One of the key aspects of that is something called query optimization.
Query optimization. Okay, now we're getting really technical.
It is a little technical, but just think about it like this. When you Google something,
Right.
you type in a question, you get an answer like that, right?
Milliseconds.
Yeah, it's incredible.
Query optimization at work.
Oh, really?
Making sure those searches are lightning fast, even with tons of data.
So that's how we get those instant results.
That's how.
That's pretty impressive.
Yeah, it highlights why consumption support is important. It's that bridge between the raw data and the insights we get from it.
So data on its own is just data.
Exactly.
Consumption support makes it meaningful.
Makes it meaningful.
Yeah.
And what's cool about this magic framework is it helps us understand how it all fits together. You know, it's not just technical jargon.
Yeah.
It shows you the entire life cycle.
Okay, yeah. And the paper makes the point that this isn't just a tech issue, it's a business issue, it's even a personal issue.
It is.
Right.
Think about a company like Netflix or Amazon.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, in the sense that they've got so many users, so much data coming in.
It's more than that. Netflix, their recommendation algorithm,
Right?
the thing that tells you what to watch next, data-driven.
Really?
They figured out how to use data to keep you hooked.
So good data equals more subscribers, more streaming hours.
Exactly.
Right.
Amazon uses data to optimize everything,
Really?
recommending products, deciding where to build their next warehouse,
Wow.
all about making those smart decisions, data-driven.
Data's like their secret weapon.
It is. And even personally, think about how much data we manage on a daily basis.
Overwhelming, yeah.
Our photos, files, finances. If we apply these data management principles to our own lives.
Right, be more organized.
More
Keep it
organized.
efficient.
Exactly. It's about bringing that structure that those big companies have.
That's a really good point. Now, the paper also talks about what happens when data management goes wrong.
Yeah.
There's this term data swamp that really jumped out at me.
Oh, yeah.
That sounds like unpleasant.
It's not good. We talk about data as a valuable resource, right?
Right.
A data swamp is like that resource getting polluted. It's unusable.
Oh,
It's full of data,
yeah.
but it's disorganized. It's a mess.
So instead of being valuable, it's actually a liability.
Exactly. It's like having a library with millions of books, but no organization, no catalog, nothing.
You never find anything.
Exactly.
Right.
And companies can drown in their own data swamps if they don't have good practices in place.
And that's where that magic framework comes in.
Comes in.
It's like it gives you the tools,
The roadmap.
the roadmap to navigate it all.
Exactly.
Avoid those swamps.
Avoid the swamps. Create that healthy ecosystem where data is insightful and not stressful.
Okay, that makes sense. Now, I do have one more kind of meta question about all this.
Yeah, what's that?
We've talked a lot about what data management is, why it's important, but I'm also wondering about the who.
The who.
Yeah. Who is actually responsible for data management within an organization?
That's a great question. It's something a lot of companies are trying to figure out. Traditionally, it was seen as IP's job.
Right, like the tech people, they'll just handle it.
Exactly. But as data's become central to everything,
Right.
that model is starting to change.
It's becoming everyone's responsibility.
It is. It's not just the IT department anymore. You need people who understand data in marketing and sales, finance, really across the board.
Because every department uses data.
Exactly. And it actually reminds me of something else the paper talked about. Data literacy.
Okay.
It's becoming so important, like a core competency in almost every job.
Right.
It's not about being able to code
Yeah.
or build a database necessarily.
Right.
It's about being able to understand and interpret the data you're seeing so you can make decisions.
So it's like data is a language we all need to learn.
Exactly. And just like learning any language, there's a learning curve, right?
For sure.
So companies are investing in training, upskilling their workforce.
Okay, so it's not just about managing data itself.
Right.
It's about managing how people deal with data.
Exactly. And that actually leads to another important takeaway from the paper,
Okay.
data ethics.
All right.
As data becomes more powerful, as we're using it to make more and more decisions,
Yeah.
we have to be really careful about the ethical implications.
Right, because it can be used for good, it can be used for bad.
Exactly.
Like any tool, really.
Think about algorithms.
Oh.
They're everywhere now,
It is.
shaping the ads we see, the loans we get approved for.
It's true.
But algorithms are only as good as the data that goes into them.
Right.
Right. So are we thinking about bias in data? Are we thinking about privacy, transparency?
Those are big questions.
They're huge questions.
Yeah.
And we need to be having these conversations at all levels, from the individual
Right.
all the way up to the people making policy.
It's true.
Because data is not this niche technical field anymore. It's part of our lives now.
It's everywhere.
It's the air we breathe.
I like that analogy.
And we need to be thinking about the quality of our data, just like we think about the quality of our air.
That's a good point.
It's a shared responsibility
For sure.
that we all need to take seriously.
This deep dive has given us a lot to think about, for sure.
It has.
So as we're wrapping up here, what's the one big thing you want to leave listeners with?
I think it's this. Data is powerful, but it's not magic.
Right.
It's a tool. We need to understand how to use it well, how to use it ethically, how to use it effectively.
Love it. A framework, not a magic spell.
Exactly.
So to our listener who's prepping for that big meeting, we hope this gave you some good background, a good foundation.
Yeah, and to everyone listening, the next time you see something magical out there in the digital world,
Yeah,
take a second to think about all the data that's making it happen.
that's a great point. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive,
Thank you.
and we will see you all next time.